Well, as it turns out, we're not quite done with our Mrs. Elysius. It turns out that I stumbled across something concerning her costume. If some of you aren't familiar with this character in the Marvel Universe, she was the main squeeze of the deceased, but soon to be resurrected in several forms, the original Captain Marvel. That being Mar, last name Vel. She was also the mother of Genus Vel and Phyla Vel. She was a result or um, um, creation, if you will, produced in a situation with Thanos concerning the megacomputer Isaac on the planet Titan, on the moon Titan, one of Saturn's satellites. She was given various titles such as Beast Mistress or Mistress of Paradise. Apparently, she had a run-in with Captain Marvel, who soon won her over, and they became a couple. Anywho, and by the way Genus and Phyla were produced was also with Captain Marvel's DNA, but not with his actual contribution. He had succumbed to cancer by this time. Anyway, ran across something while I was flipping through a Captain Marvel issue from my childhood. Actually, from the time of my childhood, 1979 to be exact. But anyway, the point is, the reference that I had in fact used was similar to this one. It was basically a picture of Elysius with her two griffins. And I wasn't really sure if she always had these griffins with her. Not very familiar with the character at all, but simply wanted references for the costume and a profile picture. Anyway, found one, an earlier one, but not quite this one, but very similar. But I decided I'd go ahead and make my own picture and draw my own griffins, whatever. Slightly altered, but whatever, you know. Now, what you notice about Elysius here is that she's in I guess a tight like bodysuit, with the arm gloves, etc. The whole attire could be thought of as either spandex. It could even be a leather, really. Not clear. But that's not the problem here. It was black. That's not the problem. The problem was, in fact, that when I did, since, my references were, all I had to go on when I started this picture was that particular photo. And that particular photo didn't show anything below the waist, meaning her legs or her boots or her feet, that sort of thing. Now, this was troubling because later on, as I was thumbing through that other reference, this one here, my copy of a Marvel Spotlight on Captain Marvel, I found, I think, 2 or 3, not very good, but they were others or extra references, physical references, things that, I didn't go out of my way to find online, but just through my comic books and stuff like that to look at and say, well, there. And to my discovery, and to my surprise, I realized that a certain part of her uniform was actually a skirt and not leggings. Yes, so this portion here was actually a skirt. and she had bare legs with you can't see the feet in this particular drawing, but with these furried boots. And so I thought, well, the drawing's okay now. I'm kind of happy with it. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and amend this. If you were following the last two videos on this particular drawing, when drawings go wrong, 1 and 2, you found out that I almost decided to abandon this as using it for my project because of some things I discovered while I was inking the torso and the legs, and I'd come up here and I was inking the head, and suddenly I realized that I didn't like the placement of some of the anatomy, right? And I realized, damn, I already inked it. What am I going to do? Oh, geez, can I live with it? And, the truth is, it was an eyesore, and it was really bugging me. And so I decided in the first video, you know what, I'm just going to walk away from this. Well, and think, because, I was a little bit disheartened, and I realized, oh, gee, this one might be going all wrong. I got to figure out whether or not I'm going to start a new one, or what can I do? What can I do? And it was the next morning. It was some sort of brainstorm, and I got the idea. I guess you could call it inspiration. I don't know. It just hit me. First of all, understand that none of this drawing is digital or using any type of computer aid enhancement or any of those convenient tools. This is all just pen to paper, pencil to paper, simple pen and ink drawing, and that's all I had to go on. And then that was part of my realization. I started thinking, well, wait a minute. I got all the time in the world on that. I could probably do another one. And then it hit me. Well, why not put yourself in a position? Let's imagine it's 1970, 1971 or something, and you've got a deadline that's due tonight. And you got this drawing with this offset head. Now, can it be salvaged? You got a problem. What are you going to do? You're under the pressure. What are you going to do? And then it just hit me. Now, I don't believe it's always possible, but I got lucky when I got the idea to basically cut out. I decided to cut out this portion of the head as well as the cape section on the shoulders and this part of the arm and the hand grasping the strap of the griffin in the foreground. Now, here's the thing. I ended up cutting it out completely. And then there was a slot there. There was a space, right? That was because the paper was cut through. So I placed another equal quality, basically a drop sheet of paper behind it, filled in what needed to be filled in after shifting the head into, and that whole section into the position it's in. You can see what I did on the other video. Anyway, basically what I was doing was what you could say would be my first jobber paste up. I guess you could call it a paste up, where you take a section of a drawing and paste it over the other. But in this case, it was the same drawing, just moving an entire section, shifting it over. Now, well, the problem I had was I wasn't going to be using whiteout or anything like that. It was just going to be strictly the paper there and gluing it into position just oh so carefully. Well, it turns out that after doing that, it taught me a lesson. It made me realize that these jobbers probably learned a lot under pressure when they had to produce, being up to their neck in work and having to meet deadlines, constantly on the move, go, 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 go. Before you know it, you're on to something next, new, like a machine. I imagine it's not a job for everybody. But I imagine, too, that those guys learned a lot under those conditions, And not only that, the pace of the work they were engaged in was making them constantly learn. We've all heard that expression that drawing is a matter of making 1,000 or 10,000 mistakes, so hurry up and go make them. You're improving the more you do it. But that's not all. Of course, you have to study certain things, anatomies, angles, all that stuff. You can't sit there and do a splash page over and over again thinking you're going to be, you know what I mean. Anyway, so there you have it. Now, after doing that though, the one time I thought, well, wow, that worked out. That worked out. It gave me the idea to go ahead with a second paste up. So I made a template, and here we go, right? Of the section to go over the section in question, right in here somewhere, to amend my little situation there to get the costume completed. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Hang on, just give me 1 second. And so there you have it. That's how you do it. You just put that template over top. That would be our second paste up. And voila, we have the costume as it is, rendered with the leg dipping through, the pleat of the skirt with the skirt intact, and the leg seen. You can't see the feet. As I said, they were fuzzy boots, whatever, that's fine. But that's pretty much how you do it. And, anything that you manage to render on the original art of ink on paper, that's it. That's your end product, which goes directly to photocopying. That's the back in the day old school method. You got the talent or get the fuck out of here kind of thing. But I imagined that, things like the paste up or the old expression, when in doubt, black it out, all these things came up based on necessity, based on accidents that would happen, and learning to cope with them as they came along, to keep the mechanism rolling out. Anyway, I'm glad that I finally got her tightened up here, and it's been a lot of fun, and thanks for joining. We'll be on to the next. Until then, we'll sign off.